Hi again. 21 hours has zipped past. I was talking to someone else today who was mentioning how time seems to be going faster. It is going faster. I don't really know anybody who is observant of the world around them who isn't of that opinion. It's not just a sensory overload. I think there's more going on than that. Something else that perhaps our guest tonight will comment upon. In addition to talking about many other things, he is one of the most famous people on the planet when it comes to ancient history, ancient mysteries, and he has a brand new book out. He is Graham Hancock. He, of course, the author of the major international bestsellers, A Sign and the Seal, Fingerprints of the Gods, and Heaven's Mirror. His books have sold more than 5 million copies worldwide and have been translated now into 27 different languages. His public lectures and TV appearances, including the 3-hour series Quest for the Lost Civilization, have put his ideas before audiences are huge, tens of millions of people. He has become recognized as an unconventional thinker who raises legitimate questions about humanity's history and its prehistory, which may be a lot more complex than most any of us realize, and offers an increasingly popular challenge to the entrenched views of orthodox scholars. Let's see if he's awake and up and at 'em now as we go live to the UK. Graham, are you there?
Hi, I'm there. I'm here. How are you?
I'm fine. The man who never sleeps, right?
That's what it's been feeling like recently.
That does. Your new book, Underworld, which is going to be another blockbuster, I think. Is it available in bookstores as we speak, or is it due?
Yes, it is.
It is out now, okay.
It's available in bookstores throughout the U.S. In fact, I just finished my U.S. tour.
I knew you were on a tour. I wasn't sure of the release date, though.
Yeah, it was released on about the 10th of October.
All right. Underworld. Now,
Underworld, the mysterious origins of civilization.
Now, when you folks are out looking for books, but more than that, the holiday season is upon us, and every year I mention good books to consider. This is certainly one to be put at the top of most any list. Underworld by Graham Hancock. You've spent a lot of time actually underwater yourself over the years, haven't you?
I have. I learned to dive in order to research and write this book. People who know my work will know that over the last more than 10 years, I've had a primary focus in my writing, which has been on the possibility of a huge forgotten episode in human history, of a lost civilization, perhaps more than one, going way back into what we think of as prehistoric times.
Almost dinosaur times, no?
Well, I personally wouldn't, I don't see the need to push it back that far. The interesting, the official picture we're painted is that what we call civilization, and therefore what makes us completely distinct and separate from other creatures on this planet, began about 5,500 years ago. What I'm trying to draw attention to is that in a period before that, not long before that, 7,000 or 8,000 years before that, the end of the Ice Age, about 12,000 years ago, such radical and dramatic things were happening to the Earth that it's possible that an earlier layer of civilization, which we went into and which was destroyed in these events at the end of the Ice Age, could have been hidden from us. And that this would explain many of the myths and traditions and strange hints of lost civilizations that are found throughout the world.
Graham, excuse me, these are more than hints. We have solid archaeological and geological pointers that would indicate such is the case. one only has
but
to...
you ask an archaeologist for that, and they'll say, no, it's not true.
Well, I think all of us listening have a firm understanding of what orthodox science does and does not do in terms of entertaining unconventional ideas. They don't like to do it, but one has to only read your books or even the books of Michael Cremo, Hidden History of the Human Race.
Wonderful book, yeah. That's
which
excellent.
Absolutely, which points to solid geology in which have been found all sorts of anomalous items which are clearly crafted by an intelligent mind.
Yeah, that's this is really what I've been trying to do with Underworld, is to take this inquiry into the possibility of a lost civilization and everything that means for our understanding of ourselves, to take it to a new level where it is directly supported by the kind of physical evidence that even the most extreme skeptics amongst the orthodox archaeological crowd cannot ignore. And that's why it was important to look underwater. I mean, in brief, we have 600 flood myths from all around the world that speak of a great civilization.
You've counted 600 now. Right.
There are 600. There's about 578 that have been actually logged.
Sure.
All around the world that have this memory of a terrible cataclysm or a series of cataclysms, and before that, of a civilization which was advanced, which had achieved great things, but which was brought low by this cataclysm of flood, of sea level. And it is the case that at the end of the Ice Age, just before what we think of as the beginning of civilization, a few thousand years before it, there were terrible floods across the world, and sea level rose by 400 feet. And this is simply a vast amount of land that was swallowed up.
400 feet, yeah.
Well, 400 feet vertical rise in sea level actually means that all around the world's coastlines you lose more than 10 million square miles of land.
I wanted to ask you how much is lost, and if you can, now we have approximately 70% of the planet covered by water. What would the difference, just take a wild guess, been prior to whatever cataclysm hit us about 12,000 years ago? How much would the percentages reflect before the big flood? Any guess on that? Say.
Well, it's better to put it in concrete terms, that rather than in terms of percentages, that an area of land equivalent to the whole of South America, the whole of Central America, and the whole of the continental United States added together, that an area of land that large, which again is another example, is equivalent to the same size as China, all of China and all of Europe added together, that this much land went underwater around 12 to 15,000 years ago because of rising sea levels. And this was the best land on Earth at that time.
The most arable land, sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the warmest land, the most protected climate. Just remember that the Ice Age was a very mysterious period with terrible climatic conditions in the interior of continents. This is what you would expect with an ice cap 2 miles thick, sitting on top of Northern Europe or North America. But out on the coastal margins, where the land was exposed, where there was much more land than there is today, the climate was warmer, people had access to the resources of the sea, it was the ideal sort of environment.
Well, those were all the alluvial plains, too. Those were all the alluvial plains, the best, richest land of all.
That's right, where the great rivers come down and deposit their silt in deltas. These were all swept away at the end of the Ice Age, and it's a kind of blind spot of archaeology. And I have felt, you see, that this debate about the possibility of a lost civilization, of a strange influence operating in human affairs going back long, long ago, has been one that's been going round and round and round in circles for at least the last 25 years. And although many on the alternative side, like myself and many others, feel that the evidence is compelling, that there has been a forgotten episode in human history and that we need to take this seriously and investigate what it means. Although many of us feel it's compelling, mainstream science, which unfortunately blocks and controls all the solid research funds into this area, mainstream science is convinced that there was and could never have been any such thing as a lost civilization. So we need a breakthrough. We need to move on from the situation of two sides yelling at each other one side saying, come on, it doesn't make sense. We've got to understand our past better. And the other side saying, no, we've fully understood our past already.
Why don't we just, Graham, why don't we just leave them go and establish our own world of scientific endeavor and forget them? I don't think they're going to come along.
Well, I don't think they're going to come along either. But the problem is that in our society, the big bucks in research, in any endeavor of research to do with the human condition, rests with the mainstream universities and institutes. And, frankly speaking, what we need to search the fascinating areas underwater all around the world that contain ruins, what we need is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of money that institutes like Woods Hole, Oceanographic Institute can mobilize and do mobilize for other research. And all I'm saying is it needs to be mobilized for this research as well. Otherwise, this debate between the so-called alternative and the mainstream will become completely sterile and fruitless, and will just go on, and nothing will ever be confirmed.
I call it a denial. I don't even call it a debate anymore, because these people are so entrenched, they literally will avert their eyes. I've had stories on this program of people holding up evidence, and these people actually will avert their gaze and not look at something offered to them.
Definitely. I have many critics of my work who say, Graham Hancock's new book, Underworld, is complete crap from beginning to end. It's all fantasy and it's all made up. But they haven't read the book. They don't need to read the book because they're convinced already that everything that I say is wrong. And so, as you say, it is indeed not any kind of dialogue. It is a denial.
Thank you. Stand by just a moment or two, Graham. We'll pause here and come right back with the remarkable Graham Hancock, my guest tonight. And do think about all that. Pick up Graham's book, Underworld. There is an entire history on this planet which is literally being denied to us for lack of funding. Think about that, too. It's all money, isn't it, folks? You can get to Graham Hancock's website by clicking on his name at rense.com. Graham, when you look at the work, there have been a number of people who have done work in similar vein as has Edgar Cayce, but look at Cayce's work. I guess it's close to 80 years now that he was talking about some kind of an event that happened between 11 and 12,000 years ago. I mean, your work even makes Cayce, I think, more interesting.
I think Cayce is a fascinating phenomenon, and we have to ask ourselves where this gentleman got his incredible information from. He died many years ago in 1945, I believe.
Yeah, somewhere during the war years. Yeah.
And prior to that, for many years, while conducting what was his main focus as a healer, he came up with these strange memories and accounts of a life in Atlantis. I have to say, in my own work, I don't pursue the Cayce line of investigation, not because I disagree with it, but because I just feel it's terribly important to win the argument with the scientists in this field.
Sure.
That tends to produce, or any mention of Edgar Cayce or Atlantis tends to produce an immediate switching off.
Isn't that a shame? What a sad
It is a shame, because it means that we're prescribing whole areas of inquiry that should be open to us as human beings. In fact, this is one of the reasons why I think it is worth investigating the possibility of a lost civilization, because it may tell. I mean, this question is often asked to me: is why bother? Why do we care about our past? What difference does it make? But it really does make a huge difference, because everything that we feel about our present and our condition and about what we are as human beings is shaped by our understanding of our past. And my goodness, if our understanding of our past is as radically wrong as it seems to be, then we have some major rethinking to do about the present and the future. So it is relevant here and now.
Take that a little bit further, and our understanding of not only our ancient past, but our recent past is obfuscated and occluded with all sorts of political agendas.
No doubt about it. Yes, very good point. Yeah. I mean, how we're smart enough to know about the science of spin and misinformation in the media today, and we know that takes place. How much more obscure, therefore, is the time of 5,000 or 10,000 years ago, which has been subjected to 10,000 years of spin? I completely agree with you. We know almost nothing about ourselves, and the whole of our society conspires to keep us quiet and to keep us docile, sitting in our chairs, absorbing the agenda of the powers that be.
Well, they've elevated that to more than a fine art now. Hi again. 21 hours has zipped past. I was talking to someone else today who was mentioning how time seems to be going faster. It is going faster. I don't really know anybody who is observant of the world around them who isn't of that opinion. It's not just a sensory overload and offers an increasingly popular challenge to the entrenched views of orthodox scholars. Let's see if he's awake and up and at him now as we go live to the UK. Graham, are you there?
Hi, I'm there. I'm here. How are you?
I'm fine. The man who never sleeps, right?
That's what it's been feeling like recently.
That does. Your new book, Underworld, which is going to be another blockbuster, I think, is it available in bookstores as we speak, or is it due?
Yes, it is.
It is out now. Okay.
It's available in bookstores.
More than 5 million copies worldwide and have been translated now into 27 different languages. His public lectures and TV appearances, including the 3-hour series Quest for the Lost Civilization, have put his ideas before audiences are huge, tens of millions of people. He has become recognized as an unconventional thinker who raises legitimate questions about humanity's history and its prehistory, which may be a lot more complex than most any of us realize. I think there's more going on than that. Something else that perhaps our guest tonight will comment upon, in addition to talking about many other things. He is one of the most famous people on the planet when it comes to ancient history, ancient mysteries, and he has a brand new book out. He is Graham Hancock. He, of course, the author of the major international bestsellers, A Sign and the Seal, Fingerprints of the Gods, and Heaven's Mirror. His books have sold more than